Claire grew up in a home where love felt uneven, almost like someone placed a bright spotlight that never once shined on her. Her younger brother, Stephen, received all the attention, leaving her to fade quietly into the background. Whenever Claire shared something exciting, her parents barely looked up. "That's nice, Claire," her mother would say before turning straight back to Stephen. She learned early that nothing she did could compete with Stephen's needs. By the time she turned 18, Claire felt more like a visitor than a daughter in her own family. The pattern began long before Claire understood it. When she won a spelling competition, she rushed home expecting cheers, only to find her mother bragging on the phone about Stephen tying his shoes. "Mom, look what I won," Claire said, lifting her trophy. Her mother waved her away as if the moment meant nothing. "Later, sweetheart, I'm talking." Stephen wasn't doing anything special. He was simply existing. Claire carried the trophy to her room, wondering if she would ever be seen with the same excitement. As the years passed, the difference became impossible to ignore. Claire watched Stephen receive new gadgets, special meals, and endless praise while she learned to accept leftovers and silence. When Claire asked to go to summer camp, her father sighed. "We can't afford that with Stephen's medical needs." Yet 3 months later, Stephen mentioned liking video games, and a brand new console appeared in the living room. Claire stared at it and whispered, "Guess money appears when Stephen wants something." From that day, she stopped asking for anything at all. In high school, Claire focused on building a world outside her home. She made the honor roll, joined the basketball team, and pushed herself harder than anyone imagined. One evening she asked, "Can you both come to my championship game?" Her mother shook her head immediately. "Stephen has a checkup, and we don't want to rush him." They never came. Claire scored 18 points and led her team to victory, but she walked home alone, knowing no one at home would even ask how she played. When college approached, Claire no longer expected support from anyone. She filled out applications alone, packed alone, and moved into her dorm without a single family photo or celebration. When she told them she got into her top choice school, her mother didn't look up from cutting Stephen's food. "That's wonderful, sweetie," she murmured. Years later, Stephen received a huge graduation party, while Claire got only a small card and a forced, "We're proud of you." That day she whispered, "Soon I'll build a life far from all of this." College became Claire's chance to breathe for the first time in her life. She worked part-time jobs, applied for scholarships, and managed every responsibility without a single call from home asking how she was doing. Whenever she visited during holidays, her parents barely asked about her classes. "School is fine," she would say, and her father would nod before turning to Stephen's latest test results. She often sat quietly at the table feeling like a tenant instead of family. Each visit convinced her more that her future would have nothing to do with her past. After graduation, Claire moved to Seattle and finally stepped into a world where she could create her own identity. She learned new skills, stayed late at work, and built her career in software development with determination no one had ever recognized before. Her boss once said, "Claire, you work like someone trying to outrun something," and she simply smiled. She wasn't outrunning anything. She was rebuilding herself. Over time, she moved into a beautiful condo overlooking the water. For the first time, she felt proud of a life she built entirely on her own. Contact with her parents became rare, almost mechanical. On holidays, her mother would call for a 10-minute chat mostly centered on Stephen's health. "He has another appointment next week," her mother would say as if Claire had asked. She would listen politely, then end the call feeling as invisible as ever. They never asked about her job, her city, or her relationships. As the years passed, Claire realized they didn't even know who she was anymore, and maybe they never truly had. Everything changed when her mother called one afternoon, her voice shaking with panic. "Stephen's kidney is failing, Claire. He needs a transplant soon." Claire froze, unsure how to respond. Before she could ask any questions, her mother continued, "We already scheduled your testing appointment. It's next Thursday. They said you must come early." Claire blinked slowly, stunned that they had signed her up without asking. It was the first moment she truly felt like her parents saw her body, not her, as something they were entitled to use. When Claire asked why they hadn't spoken to her first, her mother snapped. "Because you're his sister. This is your duty. Family takes care of family." Claire replied quietly. "My body is mine. You don't decide for me." Her mother burst into tears, insisting, "Stephen could die if you refuse." Claire hung up the phone and stared at the wall, realizing how far her family was willing to go. It wasn't love. They just expected her to sacrifice herself without question. For the next few days, Claire's phone rang non-stop. Her mother left long messages saying things like, "You're killing your brother by hesitating," and her father added, "Let's be reasonable, Claire. Your mother is just worried." Even Stephen called, sounding uncomfortable. He said quietly, "I didn't ask them to schedule anything. They just told me it was handled." Claire appreciated the honesty but still felt trapped by years of being overlooked. That night, she sat alone in her condo and whispered, "I need to save myself before anyone else." After thinking about her entire childhood, Claire made a decision that shocked even her. She applied for a transfer to her company's Austin office, a place far from everything that had ever hurt her. Her boss welcomed the idea. "We'd love to have you in Texas," he said warmly. Claire packed her belongings quietly, donating things she no longer needed and selling what she couldn't take. She didn't tell her parents a single word. Leaving felt like stepping out of a cage she never realized she had been trapped inside. Before moving, Claire finalized something she had considered for months. She legally changed her name. Signing those papers felt like shedding the last piece of a life that had never been hers. She whispered to herself, "This is the beginning of me." When she boarded the plane to Austin, she sent her parents one final message. "I'm not coming to the appointment. Do not contact me again." Then she blocked their numbers, their emails, and every way they had ever reached her. Austin felt like a fresh breeze she had spent her whole life waiting to inhale. Nobody knew her past, nobody compared her to Stephen, and nobody expected her to sacrifice herself. At work, she quickly became valued for her skill, not ignored like before. Her new apartment was peaceful, filled with furniture she chose, not hand-me-downs forced on her. She tried rock climbing, explored restaurants, and took long walks at night without worrying about judgment. For the first time, Claire knew what freedom felt like. 6 months into her new life, Claire met a nurse named Jenna at a rock climbing gym. Their first conversation was easy, filled with laughter and curiosity. After a few dates, Claire finally told her everything. The favoritism, the neglect, the scheduled surgery she never agreed to. Jenna listened closely, then said gently, "Your body belongs to you. Nobody gets to volunteer it, Claire." Those words settled deep into Claire's heart. For the first time, someone truly understood her pain. Meanwhile, her parents began to panic. Her mother called the doorman at her old Seattle building demanding answers. Her father contacted her previous job pretending to be a potential client. They even drove to Seattle and waited outside her former office for 3 days hoping she would appear. When they questioned employees with her photo, security asked them to leave. Nothing worked. Claire was gone, and they had no idea who she had become. Their desperation grew louder online. Her mother began posting on Facebook about her missing daughter, leaving out every detail that showed why Claire left. She wrote, "We don't know why she vanished. Please help us find her." Friends shared the posts, and strangers called Claire heartless. But others who knew the truth began commenting honestly. One former classmate wrote, "They ignored Claire for years. This didn't come from nowhere." Screenshots spread quickly, exposing the parts her mother tried to hide. Her mother escalated by posting childhood photos, writing long stories about being a devoted mother, and begging Claire to come home for Stephen's sake. She even started a fundraiser online claiming, "My daughter abandoned us in our darkest hour." The donations trickled in, but so did questions. Some asked, "Why did she leave?" Others asked, "Did you ask for her consent before signing her up for surgery?" Still, her mother refused to accept blame and continued portraying Claire as the villain. 3 months later, Claire received unexpected news from her cousin. "Your parents hired a search company," her cousin whispered. "They paid $5,000 to track you." Claire sat quietly absorbing the irony. They never spent that much money on her. Not for camp, not for graduation, not for anything. But they found the money quickly when they needed something from her. Her cousin added, "They're frustrated. The company can't find you." The search service eventually admitted defeat, sending her parents a polite message. Claire did not want to be found. Her mother screamed at them, calling them incompetent, but nothing changed. Claire tightened her security even more, removing her information from people finder sites, changing profile photos, and asking her landlord never to confirm her residence. She felt a strange mix of fear and relief. She whispered to herself, "I'm not running. I'm protecting myself." And for the first time she believed it. One afternoon, a letter arrived at Claire's new office, addressed only by her first name and a vague description. The mailroom worker asked, "Is this really for you?" And she nodded slowly. Inside was a 6-page handwritten note from her mother, full of emotional lines but no real apology. "We miss you. Steven needs you. Please come home," it said. Attached were photos of Steven in the hospital. Claire shredded the letter, whispering, "You still don't see me. Only what you want from me." A few days later, her mother began calling her workplace non-stop, begging the receptionist to connect her to Claire. "She's my daughter. She can't hide from me," her mother shouted. HR eventually called Claire into a private meeting. When Claire explained everything, the medical coercion, the boundary violations, the estrangement, HR listened with genuine concern. They blocked her parents' numbers and marked her file for privacy protection. Walking out of that meeting, Claire felt lighter than she had in years. The online campaign intensified next. Her mother filled social media with dramatic posts describing herself as a heartbroken parent abandoned, for no reason. She added photos of Steven looking weak, captioning them with lines like, "If Claire loved her brother, she would come home." Some strangers called Claire cruel, while others defended her. A classmate wrote, "Claire wasn't treated like family. She was treated like an accessory." Her mother deleted the comment immediately, but the screenshot spread everywhere. It was the first time Claire felt seen by the outside world. One evening, after a long day of work, Claire returned home to find someone sitting on the steps outside her building. It was Steven, thinner than she remembered, his skin pale with exhaustion. He lifted his hand weakly and said, "Before you tell me to leave, I promise I came alone." Claire hesitated, keys in her hand, unsure whether to walk past him or listen. "You have 5 minutes," she finally said. Steven nodded gratefully, looking like even breathing took effort. Steven began softly, his voice trembling. "I know what Mom and Dad did was wrong. I told them not to force anything on you." He looked away before adding, "I'm dying, Claire. Dialysis is keeping me alive, but not for long." Claire felt her chest tighten at his honesty. He continued, "I'm not here to guilt you. I just wanted to apologize for everything I didn't say when we were younger." For the first time in her life, Claire felt her brother truly saw her. Claire could have walked away, but something held her still. She asked, "So what do you want from me?" Steven shook his head. "Nothing. I just wanted to tell you that you deserved better." He stood slowly, wincing from the pain. When he reached his car, Claire called out, "I'll think about it." Steven nodded gently, as if trying not to hope too much. That night, Claire lay awake replaying every word he had said. Instead of guessing, Claire decided to learn the truth. She went to a transplant center in Austin and completed the full medical evaluation. She waited 2 anxious weeks before the results arrived. The doctor told her, "You and Steven are not a match. Even if you wanted to donate, it wouldn't work." Claire felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness. She video called Steven and said, "I'm not a match." He smiled softly and replied, "Honestly, I'm relieved. Now there's no pressure between us." When Stephen told their parents, her mother exploded. "She sabotaged the test. She wants Stephen to die," she screamed. Stephen defended Claire, saying, "She didn't do anything wrong. Stop blaming her for everything." Their father sat quietly, unable to deny the truth anymore. Claire didn't care to hear the details. She had already emotionally detached from their chaos. The next day, Stephen updated her with surprising news. A deceased donor kidney had become available, a young man who passed away in another state. Stephen was a match, and the surgery was scheduled for Tuesday. "This is it," he said over the phone, voice shaky but hopeful. Claire sat silently for a moment before answering, "I want to be there for you." Stephen inhaled sharply. "Thank you, Claire. That means more than you know." They began planning a careful way to avoid their parents during her visit. Claire flew in the night before the surgery, using her new name for the hotel booking. Stephen texted her the perfect times to visit without crossing paths with their parents. Early Tuesday morning, she entered his hospital room quietly. "You came," Stephen whispered with a weak smile. "Of course I came," she said, touching his hand gently. When they wheeled him away, Claire followed to the waiting area, praying silently for a successful surgery. The waiting room felt cold and too quiet, filled with families whispering prayers for their loved ones. Claire sat alone, her hands trembling slightly as she checked her phone for surgery updates. Each message brought a wave of relief. Surgery underway. No complications. Kidney functioning. Around noon, the surgeon approached her with a tired smile. "Everything went well. The kidney is already working," she said. Claire thanked her repeatedly, tears forming though she tried to hide them. Later that afternoon, Claire entered Stephen's room where he lay pale but alive, surrounded by tubes and wires. His eyes opened slowly when he heard her enter. "Hey, you really stayed," he whispered. She nodded and said, "Where else would I be today?" Stephen tried to laugh but winced in pain, whispering, "Don't make me laugh, Claire." She pulled a chair close and stayed beside him, feeling relief wash through her like sunlight after rain. For 3 days, Claire visited him during the hours his parents weren't there. They talked about their childhood honestly for the first time. Stephen admitted, "I saw things. I just didn't know how to fight them back then." Claire sighed softly. "We were both raised in a house where only one child mattered." Stephen nodded sadly and said, "But you matter to me. You always did." His words healed a part of Claire she didn't even know was still wounded. On her last evening, Claire quietly left Stephen's room and headed toward the parking garage. But as she turned a corner, she came face to face with her mother. Her mother froze, eyes wide with shock, then rushed forward crying, "My baby girl, you came back." Claire raised her hand firmly. "Stop." Her mother halted, confused. Claire said calmly, "I came for Stephen, not for you." Her mother's tears fell harder. "I don't understand what I did wrong. I just wanted to save your brother," she insisted. Claire's voice remained steady. "You signed me up for surgery without asking. You ignored me for 28 years. And you still haven't apologized." Her mother inhaled sharply, unable to speak. Claire whispered, "This conversation is over." Then she walked past her without looking back. Claire flew back to Austin the next morning feeling emotionally drained but strangely peaceful. At the airport exit, Jenna waited with open arms. "You okay?" she asked softly. Claire nodded against her shoulder. "Stephen's safe. That's what matters." They stopped for tacos on the way home, laughing gently as life settled back into something familiar. For the first time in a long time, Claire felt like she had chosen her own family. Back at work, Claire slipped easily into her routine. She shared quiet updates with Stephen through text messages. He sent a photo of himself walking the hospital hallway with an 4-pole. The caption read, "New kidney, who this?" She laughed before replying with a thumbs-up emoji. Even through the pain, Stephen was trying to rebuild their bond. And for once, Claire felt hopeful about the future. Her parents continued trying to reach her through letters, all lacking the one thing she needed: an honest apology. One envelope simply read, "We love you. Please come home." Claire placed it gently in a drawer without opening it. She whispered, "Love isn't enough when it only goes one way." She no longer felt guilty for protecting herself. She finally understood that distance could be an act of survival, not selfishness. Weeks later, Stephen called her with brighter energy in his voice. "I'm healing fast. The doctors say the kidney is strong," he said proudly. Claire smiled, feeling relief warm her chest. "Good. You deserve a full life," she replied. Stephen hesitated before adding, "Thank you for coming, Claire. Even if Mom never understands, I do." For Claire, that was more meaningful than anything she had ever heard growing up. Life in Austin moved forward, peaceful and steady. Claire no longer felt like the forgotten daughter or the expected sacrifice. She felt like a woman who had reclaimed her name, her body, and her future. She chose who she loved, where she lived, and who deserved a place in her life. With Stephen healing and Jenna by her side, Claire finally felt free. And for the first time she wasn't running, she was living.